Right, so welcome to part two of the India market review for the week ending Friday, 3rd February 2017. The Indian annual budget is over and we've had a terrific rally on the markets and individual stocks, etc. We just finished part one and we discussed what the various sectors were doing, including what the global indices were doing. So, taking off from there, what we want to discuss in this section is basically three specific sectors. Two are rather on the long side, the banks, specifically the PSU banks, which seem to be doing better than the private sector banks at this point. But we look at some private sector banks too, and we want to look at pharma, which could be bottoming out after sort of 1.5 to 2 years down move. Could be as in a big qualifier, and the one clear short sector is the IT space. So we look at these three sectors in some detail, especially the F&O stocks. Right. So let's jump in and let's start with the bearish chaps. All right. So looking at these 5-6 companies, starting with, let's say, TCS, and let's take it to daily. Right. So they've had some sort of bounce today because quite a strong amount of selling. So one of the things that we all know as far as the sector is concerned is the H1B issue and the big issues that are around that. To take a big picture view first, what we do have and what we need to keep in mind as far as TCS and definitely other IT companies are concerned is in a sense a potential, and I say this with a very strong reservation, but still a sort of potential double bottom between March of 2016 and now, and we may be getting a sort of third bottom here. It's way too early to say that that's what's exactly happening, but you never know. Have we come to a support zone and are we bouncing from there? What's really going on? So as you can see that I put those two lines at the bottom, and one of the things about the IT space fundamentally is that it is clearly cheap in terms of valuations, but that doesn't mean one should be rushing into buy it, right? So looking at it, in a little bit closer detail now. So fell from about 2380, 2400 to 2160 last week, or rather in the last 3 weeks, and you had these big falls even before the budget, and then you've got this recovery a little bit of sorts, right? Really nothing great, but still it's there. It was the only sector on the 1st of Feb that went down in spite of everything else going up on the market being happy with the budget itself. So that should tell you a little bit about the strong negative sentiment that is there in the market as regards to this sector. You can also see in the last 3-4 weeks, you have this sort of strong red candles followed by some 3-4 days of green recovery, then another very strong red candle, and that one day candle, red candle takes away all the recoveries of the last 4 days, and then you've had this repeated this time over 2 weeks, and then 2 days of bad days have just gone off. What is maybe a little bit for those of us who are looking for hope is this strong green volume yesterday, and today the volume has really sort of less than half of what it was yesterday. But I think clearly it is at 2240, 2250 is a sort of resistance level, right? That's where it has come to, and it could go to 2280, but I somehow feel it's not going to cross 2300. The higher it goes, I think the better it is as a shorting opportunity. So where till will it go? That's a little bit tough to say, and it might actually gap down or close or come down on Monday after whatever little euphoria has gone. The fight for the H1B thing in the UK or rather US is not going to be something which is going to end soon. It's not like Trump is in a listing mood, and none of his aides, his aides are, just mostly arrogant people, think they know everything all, and they are really not open to other people's views and opinions. So anyhow, um anything higher than this 2260, 2280. Why I said what I said earlier just now is because they're going to do what they want to do, irrespective of what the world thinks or says or behaves or what their other people's concerns are. So I think so this I'm saying this a little, taking it a little in length because having a long conversation with a person in core IT yesterday, in a pretty senior position in a well-established Indian multinational, where he was talking about, oh, there are some good things, and I was like basically countering that by saying, I don't think we understand the new animals and the creatures and the thinking which is there in the US government right now. And it's going to really be a tough thing to uh, figure out what they're thinking, not thinking. There is going to be very, very headstrong about it. So given that and given, I think you can see a very clear technical picture on this, a shorting opportunity, if it goes up all the way to 2280, I would say is a good place to short. Only about 2300, I would think about actually closing the short or going long. And once 2180 breaks, I think 2120, 2080 is clearly a distinct possibility, and that is where the short should be closed for now, because that's where a good support zone is. If, however, 2100 breaks, and then you've got this level of 2000, and if 2000 breaks, then I think all hell will break loose, and then we'll see much, much lower levels. But I don't think that's happening this month. Um, Compounded if something happens in the state elections and we see the BJP getting a thumping and they come out with some really bad losses, then yes, I think sub 2000 levels on the TCS are distinctly possible. I'm not going to get into all the strategies that you can. That basically, of course, you could just basically short the futures, or you can do something with the puts and a vertical put spread. Given that you're early in the month, could be something that you could consider. You could sell the 2000 put or 2100 put also if you want to not incur a high cost, and go long on a 24, 2260, 2280 or 2300 put, whatever. Right. Okay. Not sure exactly what the strike prices for TCS are, but have a look. I think more or less we've seen the same thing for the other IT stuff companies looking at Infi now. Well, this is definitely a worse picture than TCS. TCS seems to be having some strength. Infi really no strength, except to say that really not been able to bounce above that 910, 920, 915 mark, right? And it has come to a 2-year support zone at 900 is something really interesting to watch out for, I think, right? So 915, that's the zone. And if this 915 zone breaks, then I think we're seeing some much lower levels. For now, this is a potential double bottom, and there's some buying that's going on, but I would somehow not be very sure that it's going to be turning around right now. Maybe on Infi, I would rather prefer to wait and watch. Some of the candles, as you can see, have pretty long lower shadows. So there's some buying that's definitely happening at 910, 915 levels. But, there is this very clear downtrend until I would go long only above 950 or even 965, and only if there's very, very strong volumes that happen. Somehow, I would definitely not go long. Should I short at 940, 950? Maybe TCS is a better shot than Infi right now in terms of risk reward. But if 915 breaks on a closing basis and you get strong selling, then I think one should immediately short for 900 or potentially much lower levels. Coming to Wipro, right? So Wipro also looking pretty weak, I would say. 450 seems to be some sort of a psychological mark, but oh, ex-dividend something, 2 rupees. That's all right. Nothing much for retail. But it's a lot of money for Mr. Azim Premji. Right. This could be, I don't know, is it a pennant information, a sort of downtrend flag? If it is, then almost 30 rupees lower. That means around 920 is where the market can come to, right? If it breaks 450, then 920, maybe even 420 and 400 is a distinct possibility in my opinion. You could look at the 950 put for this in the coming weeks, and it could easily give you maybe 30 to 50 or even 100% return on that trade. 950, 960, whatever at the money put is something which you can look at, or you can also short with a good nice stop loss at around 965, 968 on the spot price with a target of at least 435, I would say, and even 420. Then looking at HCL Tech, this one certainly would not want to short this. For some reason, HCL Tech seems to be beating the rest of the pack. This is definitely showing some sort of I'm getting some doubts now, some lot of thoughts going through my mind. Okay, now saying go long, I revised that and I don't think one should go long. One should actually be shorting it. Look at it. All right, so it's gone up like this, and this is a monthly chart. Rarely look at it. Look at the volumes. Clearly, the volumes have dipped massively while it has gone up. This is looking to me like a pretty big scale corrective move, and if an ABC move down, and if A is 1050 to 750, 300 rupees, wow. I'm wondering if this stock could go to 500 in the coming weeks and months. Elliott wave correction or in a multi-quarter magnitude or time scale, 500. All right, this is very interesting. This could be so this big shadow, lower shadow, stock went from 832 to 780 and recovered. That's what is sort of putting a spoke in the wheels and wondering whether there is some buying going on. That too on the weekly chart. Let's look at daily. Yes. So okay. So this is like a little bit like TCS. You remember got sold off, and there's some good volume. I think if it comes to 840, watch carefully. HCL Tech could be a good place to short it. Around 845, 850 could be a stop loss for your short. And first target is 810, 805. Once that breaks, then 790. Once that breaks, 770. And once that breaks, could be much lower level. So is this? And if I look at it from a multi-week, multi-month perspective, 500 is not ruled out, right, on this stock, and it could happen. May take 1 or 2 quarters, but could happen. Right? Okay, so let's at HCL Tech. Let's look at Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra stock was 740 in Jan 15th. It is now 440. Right, so that's clear 40-50% down. Again, what a massive recovery. Right, it's gone from 435 to 480. Volumes are not bad. Okay. Again, would not want to buy into this, would look very carefully. Around 490 might be a good place to short it with a stop loss on 497 and the first target at 465 and then at 440. So I think in terms of shorting TCS, Wipro, HCL, INFI, right? Those were the better ones. Just to complete looking at OFSS quickly. Wow, look at this. So good to know individual stocks. Oracle Financial Services, massive move up. This is a stock to be bought. OFSS has to be, only long. So there's one great exception there. There's something happening. This is maybe something Oracle getting a much bigger stake in it or something. It's gone up from 2,800 in November to 3,600 now. That's a massive move up. And there's something cooking in this stock, no doubt about it, and should only be gone long. One for those of us who have both the financial strength and the emotional strength. Once it breaks 3,700, which is a pretty important 3,650 zone and all, then easily 3,800 and 4,000 are distinct possibilities for OFSS. Right, so surprising to find some really good strong long position in this. The liquidity in options will be pretty bad, so all this basically is through futures or spot. Okay, so that brings us to IT over. Let's now look at the pharma and banking space. So let's look at pharma first. It's pharma. Okay. Yes, there we are. Okay, so looking at pharma, let's start the big one. Let's start with, let's say, some company went up 10% on Friday. So Strides Shasul Limited. Wow. Look at that. Look at the fantastic and amazing volumes which are there in the stock. If you have the ability for futures and are willing to look at some massive mark-to-market moves, because this went to almost 1270 and then came back 70-80 rupees down. That's a lot. But there is something clearly cooking in this stock right from November last year, and looks like the story is not over. At least buy it in spot and just hold on to it. This could easily go to, I think, back to slide 1400 or and then go to a much higher level. So that is clearly, I think, on the cards as far as Strides is concerned. There's something, and it might be worth, not might be, will be worth, I think, for those of us interested, reading up on fundamentals or anything which is there and seeing how that is. Okay. All right. Pharma, so Strides off the mark, really a good buy. Glenmark, okay. All right, so this has gone into a consolidation zone for the last 4-5 months. Basically, Glenmark needs to break 1,000. It hasn't been able to do that for almost a year, and then only will you see any move up. So there's something that happened today, massive gap up, and then there's a lot of selling. If it comes down to 920, 910, that'd probably be a really good place to buy Glenmark. That gap will be closed sooner than later, I think. So given that there's some cooling off that will happen on the Indian markets overall on the Nifty. So put an alert on this around 910 and 920. If it comes, one should look at getting into Glenmark on the long side. Just patiently hold it. May not be tough to say till when. And once it breaks 1000, then the real move will start to 1100, maybe who knows, a new life high. So that's Glenmark for you. Coming to Dr. Reddy's. Right, so it's come to an extremely good multi-month support at around 2800, 2900. Yeah, so this is an extremely important support level. It was at 4300. That stock's fallen massively, and question is from here, is it able to go back up? So the volumes are looking good. 3000, 3100. It's like, V-shaped recovery has happened here from 2950, 2940, 3200 looking possible, then 3240, and then 3360. I think is quite a distinct possibility, right? But may test your patience because this has been sideways for 1.5 years or definitely 1 year, and it could stay like this for a long time to come. Gave a false breakout here, and then I think there's some FDA something and all. Not sure. This is going to test your patience, and if this stock breaks 2800 for whatever reason, get out of it immediately. No short, no longs. Biocon, so this is one which has been like this trending and trending and trending and trending. Gone from 830 to 1060. Still, I think potential left for it to go up. 1000 is where it will basically, I think, may come back to at some point, and then maybe a good place. Not as compelling as what we saw elsewhere. We've got a sort of shooting star there, so give it a skip for now. But it is above 1000. It's been able to stay above 1000 for about 4-5 days, and sometimes this just takes on a whole different move after that. So again, notice this consolidation here for 2 years, 2014-15, between 400 to 500, and then 500 became 1000 in less than 1 year, right? So that's the sort of consolidation moves. If you get the breakout of that, then amazing stuff after. Okay, so this one 1000 for a short-term trade, I would say okay, but I think I would prefer to wait for correction to go for the long-term spot add of this onto the portfolio. Okay, Ajanta. Ladies, we did Ajanta. Skip that. Sun. So this is looking quite beaten up. It was at 1200. It's at 600 now. So basically lost half its value. So, we were earlier talking in part 1 about different sectors, if you remember, because if you watched it. So apart from IT, Pharma is the other one which, sectorally has clearly reversed its trend. And what is this? What? All right, so something uptrend here. All right. All right, so that's interesting. The downtrend line just sitting there. Let's stop there. Sun Pharma. All right, so could be at a place where the worst is over. Could be, and I'm just saying that could with a lot of hesitation and all right. So how do you play this? I think if to be on the more comfortable side, you have to wait for Pharma to break 660 and then go long easily till 700, or wait for it to break below 610 and then maybe short it to 590, 580, and there's a good low there at 572, which has been established on 9th of November last year. Don't know whether it will be tested again this year, but is this downtrend over? Like always, too tough to say. Wait for it to, break out, or we need to do some fundamental digging up to see. Right? So doesn't look like a lot of downside, right? But it's in that no man's zone. Wait for it to break out or break down, and then take action on it, right? Unless for some other reason you believe that this is in a good place and a breakout or breakdown is going to happen. Weekly chart not helping us at all. Very, very, what is this? Spinning top pattern. So nothing much to say. Okay, same thing on Lupin. Lupin, Dr. Reddy's and all basically behaving together. So let them move one way or the other. These are the good stocks to write strangles on, by the way. If you get liquidity in the options, you can write the 1560, 1540 call and 1420, 1440 or even 1400 put. Of course, the risk is if some move happens, then you are really in a spot, but unlikely anything very aggressive will happen. So, at least from what I know, if that changes, you need to be able to jump out quickly. All right. So that's it about Pharma. Some really good long positions. None were short, and quite a few of them at good multi-month or even multi-year support levels, which, if held, could be the base for 30, 40, 50, even 100% rally for 6 months, 1 year. If the base breaks, support breaks, then that's a different scenario. We'll revisit that if that happens. Okay, so let's get on to banks now, and we look at, let's say, State Bank of India first. Where is that? Yes. All right. So SBI clearly going up from 244 to 278. 30 rupees. That move is not stopping in my opinion. 290 is coming, and then 290 breaks easily. 320, 330 is a distinct possibility. So I think even the volumes are all very, very supportive of it. Budget was the excuse for it to do this, and after it has continued to do that. Some correction may happen to 268 or thereabouts. For those of us who feel we might have missed the bus or it's already run up too much, you can wait. If it comes to 268 or even 260, maybe you can look at going long at that time. But otherwise, for those of us who are looking at it from a more spot or positional perspective, can go long, breaks 290, it will easily do 330 or more. Okay. I usually don't look at these smaller PSU banks, but here is a case of, I think, one to be taken strongly, and Union Bank of India. And the reason for that, it's just massively broken out of a very, very significant resistance zone around 148 to 155, and the way it's broken out, today's volume is fantastic. It was already hinting at that for the last 2-3 days, and before that for about 6 weeks before, but nobody could have seen this sort of a move come. Could cool off after a 10% intraday move to come back to 155 or something, and if that happens, to be an extremely good opportunity to buy. No shorting at all. The stock is being accumulated, being bought by, I think, some smart operators. Looks like that to me. And for the patient ones, I think 210, 220 is a distinct possibility. All right. So looks like a lot of a host of these banking stocks have broken out from the resistance level. Here is Bank of India. A lot of good volumes, as you can see again, broke through 125, 128. And any cool off, just buy into it. The stock 145, 150. I think that's where the next level is. These are, sometimes the sleepers. They do nothing and nothing for a long time, and then when they wake up, this is how they behave. You get fed up of tracking them and you say, let me take them off my list, and then one day, bang, it's like, gone. Okay. All right. And let's look at some of the private sector banks. So let's start with ICICI. Usually not the best of ones to look at. No, actually, let's look at IndusInd Bank, because that's been making life highs, right? So this one has just been like, doing amazing stuff. Broke to 1240 here, and then made a new life high, and just going higher and higher and higher. So today looks like a flag formation, right, and a potential breakout maybe on Monday. So it went from 1240 to 1310, just 100 rupees in what, 3-4 days. I think this will maybe take a little bit of a pause and a breather only after it comes to 1500. See how at 1240 it consolidated for 2 weeks, broke out, took support, and then is now at 1310. All right, so look at how again 1240 here, and once it broke out, it just kept rallying. So I think 1500 is a possibility. One of those, not too many stocks hitting a life high in the large cap space. Okay, then okay, Kotak Bank came out with some fantastic results so before expiry, and it's shot up to 800, and then it's cooled off quite a lot. That's a huge cool off. Intraday it's come back to 740, 760. Could be taking a lot of selling that's going on. So wondering what's going on. One would have thought that after this sort of volumes and big move, it would have continued to rise. Obviously, it hasn't done that. But the overall banking space itself is, quite positive zone. And if it, this has come to some decent support, and if this holds at 760, the low, then once it breaks 800, then 820, 830 is a very distinct possibility on Kotak Bank. All right. Federal Bank of India, so that's at 84, and that's a life high, is it? Yep. So this stock 82, 84, so like IndusInd Bank hitting life highs, good volumes, 85 rupees. Looks like it is seeking 100 is the way I would look at it. Right, of course, there could be a lot of pitfalls before that. So 45 has become 85 in less than a year. Could be on the way to going for a $100 stock. Definitely a buy. No question of shorting this. Any stop loss for a long is only below 75.50 or 74.50. Okay. Yes, bank. Okay, very unusual to see this sort of move where it went from 700 to 1400 in a straight line, doubled, and then just cracked. Right, it went from 1400 to 1100, and then again from 1100 to 1400. So I'm not really sure at this point what this stock is intending to do. So I'm just going to let it pass and we'll take it up later. Okay, HDFC Bank was one of those. Have to look at it, and I'll stop after this as far as banks are concerned. So HDFC Bank, all right, so it's nice, double top. Look at the volumes that have been shooting up in the last 2-3 weeks. I think this is set to move higher, and you want to be buying this maybe Monday itself, and 1500 is, I think, a distinct possibility on this in the coming weeks, probably not even months. So there's been a sort of strong consolidation, went from 960 levels to 1300 levels without a break, and then for about 2-3 months a nice sideways consolidation, a nice bowl. You can see the pattern in the volumes also, right? And then this breakout, so there's like a huge buying that's happening, and it's not yet broken out of that bowl, right? Strictly speaking, you may not want to take it a measuring implication for this because it's not after a downtrend, but still if you were to apply that, say 1300 to 1180, around 120 bucks. So that's 1410, 1420. That would happen. That will take a month or two. That's a pretty good return on this, right? Okay. I think this is interesting. Axis Bank clear laggard in the banking space, right? Nowhere close to its life high, just like ICICI Bank, right? So it's sort of there was this, some of its managers getting caught in the demonetization thing. It's probably suffered a loss of reputation, of credibility. But having said that, it is, it's come down. Let's put it in the weekly. Right, it's in a sector that is overall doing quite well, and you've got a pretty decent downtrend from 620 to 450, and though you now can't see it very well, I'm wondering whether we have a sort of irregular head and shoulder bottom on Axis Bank, right? That's your left shoulder, that's your head, that's your right shoulder, and let's put the neckline is sort of there, could have broken out today. If you want to take that as neckline, then actually okay in my opinion, and has broken out. But you could also sort of take a shorter tweezers top almost, which is here, and if that breaks, which I think it will, then once 500 is broken, then easily 510, 520, 530 might test your patience, not might, probably will, I think, and there's a gap here to be filled, and then after that, who knows, 630 or something, could maybe 2-3 quarters, no, probably more than that, right? So quite a lot of good opportunities, I must say, that we are looking at here in this space. Okay, so that is what Axis Bank is. So plenty of good opportunities, whether it is Union Bank, Bank of India, SBI, PNB, what ICICI, even ICICI Bank, and then you've got HDFC, etc. Right? Yep. So that's good. That's where it is, and I think that's more than enough opportunities to look at in whether from the spot, futures, or options perspective, both long and short for the week ahead. So all the best. One would look at perhaps refining it in terms of risk reward ratio, in terms of how much capital might be required, in terms of liquidity of the options, and then take a call on which is the best one suited for you. Right? Okay, so which brings me to the end of today's IMR. I hope it's been instructive, and I hope it's going to be very, very profitable for the week ahead. Right. So like always, we'll try and get the recordings up by tomorrow lunchtime. Have a class. In case I slips out of my mind, I'll do it by tomorrow evening, and you should get the links. But otherwise, today's is good. Right. All right. So have a great weekend, and do let us know how much money you make in the coming week. Right. Thank you, and bye.